It's happened again, and I'm not in the mood for this one. It's the end of week 5 of my 8-week fat loss phase, a trim back ahead of a holiday. Now, you know the deal by now. I'll run through each of these numbers, see what that's telling me, and what I'm going to do about it going into week 6. Now, we'll start off with my weight. So last week, I was 76.8 kilograms. This week, I averaged 76.6. I'm down 0.2 kilo on last week. But I'm going to build on this one a little bit more first. You see, with my calories, against a target of 2,300, I averaged 2,242 and 167 grams of protein. Now, Monday was a bank holiday and we went out for brunch. And because it's early in the day, I didn't feel the need to do any calorie banking, which would be my normal strategy for a social. I just could adjust meals later in the day to fit this in. So I had Turkish eggs, and despite tweaks to pull back carbs and fats later in the day, I ended 200 calories over on my day and 40 grams under on my protein. And you can see that difference across both of those two graphs here. But by the end of the week, that had washed out. The average absorbed it. And that's the point of weekly averages that I'm using. The one day doesn't define the entire week. It's recoverable. And now that's one way that you can see it play out for me in real time. For steps, against 15,000 steps, I averaged 14,982. So I hit the goal, but it didn't come easy this week. Some steps this week were playing catch up at home with the treadmill. It wasn't ideal, but it counted and I got the target hit. As for water, against a target of 3 litres, honestly, I don't think I've hit it. I've been that occupied this week with everything else that's slipped, and I'll come on to that I've been relying on my habit rather than tracking, and think is the key giveaway here. So from today, I'm logging it accurately, and that's either filling a big 2-litre bottle and having 1.5 of that by the end of the day, or making sure that I count each and every bottle that I consume and making sure that I tick that 3 litres by the time that I go to bed. So as a guess, 2 litres. But for sleep, this is where most of the damage has been done this week. I averaged 6.5 hours against an estimated need of 8.5. Now, both my daughter and I have had a cold, so sleep has been broken, and the quality hasn't been there, even though the hours pretty much have. And on top of that, I'm struggling to find a balance on an evening. By the time that work is done, the bath and bed routine's finished, and I've had any time with my wife, it's late. And pairing that with a 4:45 start and the cold on top of that, the sleep debt has been real this week. And it matters more than people think. Poor sleep elevates cortisol, which increases water retention. And that means that my weight may have moved more than the scales are showing. And so the number on the whiteboard might actually be an understatement of my progress so far. I need to improve my sleep. It's affecting my energy, my mood, my sessions. And on the topic of sessions, training, as you can probably guess, has been hard, especially leg sessions. Squats at 5:30 in the morning on broken sleep and a cold is as much fun as it sounds. Those sessions, I got them done, but they were a grind. Work's been busy, the house has had some damage that needed urgent repair, and it just feels like everything has been thrown at me this week. And then topped off with the scales and measurements barely moving, it's so frustrating, and it just feels like a punch to the stomach for all of the effort that I've put in. And I think this combination of bad sequence of events is what most people will use as a reason to quit. And if it wasn't for the upcoming holiday or producing this series for you, I probably would have taken the week off. But the accountability is real, and it's what's making me show up. And I know I'll be grateful for this in a couple of weeks' time. Because to end this week at effectively the same weight, given everything that's happened, is a result. It just doesn't feel like one at the moment. I'm not going to push much harder going into next week. When everything else is already stretched, pushing harder is just going to take me to burnout. I'm going to make one tiny adjustment. So instead of 2,300 calories, it's going to be 2,200 calories, which equates to another 700 off by the end of the week. Everything else is staying the same. So 2,200 calories, 170 grams protein. The only reason why I'm doing this is just because I just want to up the ante. I know that I've talked about how the water weight and the sleep challenges may stagnate things here, but given that I've got 3 weeks left to lose 1.5 kilos, I want to make sure that I get to that goal of 74 to 75 kilo with a little bit of buffer and a time that I can then rebalance my calories and adjust before going into the holiday. I don't want to step onto that plane still in that deficit. Steps, 15,000. Water, that's going to be 3 litres, and that's going to be tracked. Sleep, 6 to 8 hours as my range. I still fall within that range, but I do want it back up towards the 7 hours that I'd been averaging up until this point. And those are the goals for week 6. So this morning, I'm taking a couple of hours to meal prep and do everything I can to make next week easier before it starts. If you're following along, subscribe so you don't miss out these final 3 weeks, and see if I can find that 1.5 kilos just before the holiday arrives. If you're at the start of your own cut and you want the framework to do this properly, then there's 4 weeks of free fat loss coaching linked below. You'll get the tracker, the targets, the strategies for weeks exactly like this one, based purely around your own stats. But thank you so much for watching and for checking in this week. I'll see you at the end of week 6.